Hello, everyone. I would love to share with you the story of my search for my ideal home. And maybe search isn't quite the right word to use, but it was a combination of me putting in my work and the home really coming to me. And so this is a small example that I feel is rich with some really standard elements of creating a vision and manifesting that vision. And so I would love to share the story of my experience of finding my ideal home with you so that you can pull out nuggets that that resonate for you so that you can be creating what you want to create. As many of you joined me on January the 5th, I held a live program, Envision Your Most Powerful 2025. And that was, the reason that I held that program is because I know that if you just focus on all the things happening in your life that you do not like and that you're afraid of, i.e., Trump, and the things that he and his friends are doing, if you just focus on that, it's going to be really hard to create, you're really, we're here to create the new golden age. And that's what's happening. And so it's really lovely to tune in to how to create your own personal new golden age by creating your vision and then taking the steps in the right way to manifest it. Because, things, they never go according to plan. And how you work through those little hurdles or, stumbling blocks, how you move through them makes all the difference. And so that's, I've worked so much in this area, and I love helping others work through them as well. Specifically, I'm most able to do that when people work with me in coaching. But, there are always, little places and spaces where I can share and be able to have some positive impact on people being able to create a better life for themselves. And I'm hoping that this video is going to be one of those special little places and spaces where I can help you. So the story goes in this way. So it was December the 30th when my landlady let me know that she would not be renewing my lease with her, which ends March 31st, because she's decided to sell the house. So I had to, start to, figure out, well, what am I going to do? Where am I going to move to? And of course, I had a very busy January planned with all the support that I wanted to give to Americans. So there was the January 5th Envision Your Most Powerful 2025. And then there was a January 17th and a January 19th programs leading up to the inauguration and really doing a crazy number of one-on-one calls for that 3-week period surrounding the inauguration. So so I had to, take a deep breath and just trust that I was going to be able to figure this out. So as it happens, I had a conversation with my mother, who also lives in this area, because she had sent me an email saying that she was leaving her apartment and moving. And I'm like, wow, what a coincidence. And so I was curious, what were the reasons of why she was moving. And so I suggested we have a Zoom conversation. And so in the Zoom conversation, she shared with me, her view, which, included, the statistics. She said, there's a 1% vacancy rate in the Halifax area. It's incredibly hard to find a place to live. And so I was like, wow, I was feeling, pretty daunted and not very good after that conversation. And so, when I woke up the next morning, the first thing I did is I emailed my mother and I said, I am going to have to ask you not to bring up anything about apartment searching because I found our conversation last night really lowered my morale. And right now, I really need to keep my morale high. And so I just, put forward that boundary. No more mention, no more conversations about apartment searching because I know where my mother comes from. And it's about the most doomiest and gloomiest place. And so I knew that for my survival, I had to put that boundary in place. So, what I did on January the 1st is I did a soul art journey. So, those who attended my January 5th Envision Your Most Powerful 2025 program, you had a taste of doing a soul art journey. So, I did my own soul art journey to connect with, to like really sink into resources for attracting my ideal home. And I actually want to share with you the painting that I did. So this is the painting that I did for attracting my ideal home. So this was a real guiding light for my finding my ideal home. And just to give some background, I went through 3 years of certification training in soul art. And so I have a quite extensive background in leading soul art journeys. So this one here was I had chosen to do a chakra-based soul art journey. And so the various elements of this actually relate to my different chakras. And I posted this painting in my bedroom in a place where I would see it frequently. And I will just stop sharing now to continue with you here. And so I knew that I was going to be crazy busy in January. So I did do, initial sort of looking around. And there was, and also speaking to the people that I know, my hairdresser, my chiropractor, like letting people know that I was looking for an apartment so that, in case they heard of anybody. And in fact, my hairdresser that very day had a conversation, found out about this one apartment, and I was able to quickly get in touch with the woman who had also just posted it that day on Facebook. Had a conversation with her the next day, and I found out that this apartment was very short. The woman's boyfriend was 5'9". I'm almost 5'11", and she said her boyfriend had to duck in order to get around in her apartment. And I'm like, okay, this isn't going to work for me. So, there were these sort of near miss kind of experiences. And then I had to just shut down everything. I had to just take the 3 weeks of my intensive service to the Warriors of Peace. I had to take that off from doing the apartment search. But as those who did the Envision Your Most Powerful 2025 program know, when you do solar, you identify a spirit action, and so you get this insight from the soul art, and then you have to put that insight into action through a spirit action. And so the spirit action that I had chosen to do was to journal in front of my soul art every night for 5 minutes through the whole month of January. So I did that spirit action, and I had a feeling that it was important actually that I put my activities on hold for the month of January so that I could just really connect with the art through my spirit action through the month of January. So I am one of these people who I am very spiritually disciplined. So I did not miss a night. I did journal every night with my soul art. And, it was a real way of really developing, my rooting and also my energetic connection with this journey that I had envisioned through the soul art. So then, like, actually, literally, after I finished that last week of the intensive support for the Warriors of Peace in America, um, literally that Saturday. So I finished on a Friday, and that Saturday, I started again with my apartment adventure. I'll call it apartment adventure. And so, since I've been pretty happy living in the area that I'm in, lots of access to nature, seeing deer, seeing pheasants. Like I love that. And, literally, I'm like a 1.5 minute walk to this beautiful lake that's just outside of my backyard. And so, there are lots of nice things about this area. And so I decided on that Saturday to take a walking tour and to see what kinds of apartment buildings are in the area and seeing, where they were in terms of their relationship to nature areas where I'd be able to walk. And so I had a really fun expedition out walking one of the apartment buildings that I, had seen on the internet and was looking into. There was a woman who was sitting outside. And so I went up to her and I said, "Do you live here?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "Well, I'm thinking of, possibly renting here. What can you tell me about what it's like renting here?" And so she said lots of nice things about living there. She loves it. She's been there for many years. And um, and also she said, there's this pathway right over there down into that ravine area. And I'm like, wow, that is like literally in the backyard again. So again, like so many things that seem nice. And at the same time, I was absorbing, information. The woman was outside because she was smoking. And so this was in the morning. So she was smoking and also drinking, I think it was a Pepsi. And so I'm a bit of a health freak. I'm not going to say freak, but I really know how much better and that my body feels lighter and I feel good and I can think more clearly if I'm only putting really good things into my body. So good nutrition, and I really do not eat, very like unhealthy food, and I do not smoke. Um, and so and also I could see that, she was having a lot of dental problems, when she smiled. So I was like, I was also taking note of the fact that, um, you know, potentially there was maybe lower standard of living in that building, potentially. So I was just kind of taking in all the information. And so I took a big long walk. I just went down the path because I wanted to see, what the nature would be like. And so I walked a long ways. It was a long walk. And so, just noting, what aspects were nature like and what aspects really felt like they were still in the city. Like I noticed that I was hearing traffic, which for me, I just don't feel like it's really nature if I'm hearing traffic. So I took a big long walk. I was very exploratory. And then I walked back up through, like I did a full circle through this big nature area and came back up out on this main road and to check out this other key apartment building that I had seen that there had been postings for. And I couldn't even find the apartment building. Like I had the address, I had my phone, I had the blue dot, and I'm like, I'm not seeing an apartment building, I'm seeing a karate dojo. And so when I went back home, I figured out that they were renting apartments above a karate dojo, which in some ways might be interesting, but I would say for my quiet little introverted person that I am, probably not the best to be above a karate dojo. So, um, so, so what came from that was I really didn't think that there was a place in this area that was going to work for me. And so, um, I had an appointment with my dentist. I was getting a dental cleaning that next week, and so I talked with the very friendly, very knowledgeable um, front desk woman, and she had said, "Yeah, like if you're wanting to keep your expenses down, have a nice place, and be next to nature, the area that you're at is the place to be." So, so I was kind of like, like I knew she was very knowledgeable. And so I was just like, And so, part of, any kind of adventure is being able to just be with the times of uncertainty and be in a balanced and grounded way. So I returned home, and in the days following that, I found myself just kind of getting kind of lost into an internet search. I find that I have very spiritual experiences sometimes when I'm lost in internet searches. And what I found myself doing was searching for nature areas in the Halifax area. And I came across this website that was the 10 best nature areas in the Halifax area. And so I was looking at them, and I am somebody who likes deep nature. So, the curated gardens is not so much my style of nature. I mean, I enjoy them, but that's not what I'm looking for. I like being in wild nature because it helps me to connect with the wild part of myself, which is very alive and very important to me. So I found one area that was called the Hemlock Ravine Park, and the pictures looked great. And also, I saw that there were apartment buildings in that area that, again, were, lower priced units, not the sort of excessive rents that they're charging in downtown Halifax. And I don't want to live in downtown Halifax anyway. So I started investigating those apartments and those apartment buildings, looking up reviews, looking through, the Google, whatever it is, when you go into Google Maps, you can actually see, what some place looks like. And I made some appointments to see some apartments that were for rent in that area. And so that was my sort of next adventurous trip out. It was a Friday, it was the Friday before last. So not last Friday, but the Friday before. And so looked at three different apartments. And again, I learned so much from that. So the first apartment I looked at, nice big apartment. And I think maybe the person living there was not very happy. The windows were covered with black curtains, and so this was in the morning, and so I asked the building manager that was showing me the apartment, could you open the curtains? And as soon as he opened the curtain, it's this big view. It was a ground floor apartment and a big view of the big parking lot that's in the middle of all the buildings, and I'm like, I cannot have a view of a parking lot. The reason that I was coming to this area is because I want to be close to nature. I want to see nature. Do you have any units coming up that are on the other side of the building facing nature? And so he said, well, we have a unit coming up in May in the other building that is I'm pretty sure it's on the backside of the building and would be facing nature. And I said, well, great. I would like to see that apartment. He says, well, I can't show it to you now because I have to, give notice to the occupant. And I said, of course. And I said, why don't I come back next Friday? Because I don't do calls with people on Fridays. So it allows me that freedom to be able to go and to look at apartments. So he said, okay. So I saw the whole unit. The layout was nice. It's very spacious, 900 square feet. And so, everything was good except for that location and that view. And so after I said goodbye to him, again, I was just in the mode of exploration. So I walked up behind that building to see what is the access to nature. And the snow was pretty high, but I just kind of, crunched my way through the snow. Um, Again, very adventurous like. And, I looked sort of into the trees, and it's like, well, it's not like walking a path, that's for sure, but I think that I would be able to walk through these trees. It's like it's an incline, it's rough, but it's possible. It's possible. And so then I looked at the building that was next door, the one where the unit would that I'd be seeing the next week would be. And so I crossed this little creek. I didn't even have to walk through the little, parking lot path. I walked across this creek. There were stones that were there that were, I don't know if somebody put them there, but anyway, they were perfectly placed to be able to walk across this creek over the stones. And then I climbed up the snowbank on the other side, and I walked along the back of that building because I wanted to see what this looked like. I wanted to see where that third floor fell and what kind of view that third floor would have. And so again, just, like not being afraid to engage the world. And I thought, well, I'm sure nobody walks along the back of this building, and perhaps, if somebody's, in one of these lower units, they might be surprised to see somebody walking by. But I was just like, I'm doing what I need to do. And, I don't think that, it's not like I'm doing any harm to anybody. So I walked along and I was looking up at that third floor and I was just looking to see, kind of like what the condition was, what things looked like, what people had. Like some people had barbecues out. Like I could see that people use their balconies, which to me, that's also a sign of the health of the community or people using their nice spaces. So I walked all the way around the building and I was like thinking, I think that, the eye level sight out of those third floor units, that they will be, seeing some good nature. So um, after I concluded my research at that building, then I walked to the next building because I had organized it all quite perfectly, giving myself time in between the showings and also organizing them in an order so that I could be walking between them. So I walked over to the next one, and so it was approaching noontime, and so I was there early before my appointment. And so I thought, well, part of what I want to do is check out the nature. So I I walked in behind that building, and the nature was amazing. Way easier to walk. There were a set of somebody else's footprints in the snow, so I figured this is probably somebody who's familiar with walking in this area. They may know sort of like the best route to go, so I followed their tracks and I walked a good way into the woods, much easier to walk than in the previous one. And I came up over this hill, and there was a fallen tree, and a large one. I'm like, hey, I could use that to sit on. So I used my boot and cleared all of the snow off of a space on there. Sat down, pulled out my lunch. The sun was shining, and I so enjoyed eating my lunch. I'm like, wow, like this would be great to have this right in my backyard. And so enjoyed myself. And so then I finished my lunch, put it all back into my backpack, and headed um, down to be able to meet the leasing agent who was going to meet me in front of the building. And so as I appear back out to their parking lot, this tall man comes out of his vehicle and is walking towards me. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's the leasing agent. I was still a little bit early for the appointment. And he came over, and the very first thing that happened is I got in trouble. I got in trouble um, because, as he explained to me, no one is allowed to walk behind their building. And he said that whenever he sits down to sign a lease with somebody, he makes sure very clearly that they know that no one's allowed to walk in the back of their building. And he said the reason is that think about it. If somebody's in their pajamas having their coffee in the morning, then it would be very intrusive for somebody to be outside their window. So so first of all, there would be ways to walk back in to the forest without even being around the views of those units, but that's beside the point. He's got these rules, which I find amazing that they feel like they can even control people from going into a public park. It's incredible. So, anyway, he said, you can just enjoy it from your balcony or from your windows. So, he showed me the unit. The inside of the building was dark. I said, don't you find it a bit dim in here? He says, no, not at all. I'm like, it's really dim. The lighting in there was really dim, which I do not like. But the unit itself was lovely and, had, a washer and dryer inside of it, and, many lovely aspects. And so um, from there, we went to see this other apartment that he was showing, and it was not near nature. He was showing me this little thin pathway, long pathway that was somewhat nearby the building. Um, I would not call that nature. I mean, there's a few trees on either side of the pathway, but it's like completely encased in, people's living dwellings. So anyway, the third apartment was like not even in the running. So again, being very clear and in connection with my vision helped me to discern, you know, the input that I got from that trip. Yes, the second apartment was nice. Yes, the nature out of that second apartment and also the view was amazing. And he said there's deer there all the time. All that was amazing. But he said that the women in that building felt very unsafe. And so they do things to, like they bring a food truck once a year for the whole community to come and share food and meet one another. And he says that helps the women to feel safer. So, I don't really want to live somewhere where people are so afraid. That's just not, it's not an energy that I want to be around. And B, I don't eat food truck food. So, again, like if I were to choose to participate in that, I'd have to bring my own food. So anyway, these were not great selling points for me. And so, I just, sifted through. And I don't want to live in a community where it's enough for them to just look out a window at nature. I want to live in a community where people want to be in nature. So, I really liked the location of the first apartment. The first apartment was terrible, but there was this promise of the third floor apartment. So I made my appointment to see that other third floor apartment the following Friday, which would be last Friday. And so, meanwhile, in the midst of that week, I found out it was a fourth floor apartment, which is the top floor, which, how awesome is that to be on that top floor of a low-rise building? And so, so that news got even better. And so I just like through the course of last week just had this really good feeling about this apartment. The rent is low compared to what's happening in this area, primarily because it is not the most accessible place. You have to have a car in order to be able to do lots of things. And so since I live at home, work from home, meditate at home, do so much from home. Easily traveling around is not a huge thing for me. And having nature in my backyard is a huge thing. So that's why this apartment building was a good fit for me, but not a good fit for lots of people who maybe work in the city and, have kids and need to transport them around and things like that. So I the weather was horrible last Friday. Like the sheets, the streets were just like sheets of glass of ice. When I travel by bus, I was waiting for my bus, and there was a slight incline where I was waiting for my bus, and the wind was hard enough that it moved me on the ice enough that I fell, and I bunged up my left knee. I got a bit of a bruise from that. But in any case, I'm a hearty adventurer. And so a little something like that did not daunt my spirits. So I went, and when I arrived, the property manager said, "Oh, I just tried to call you." And I said, "Oh, why did you try to call?" And he said, "I wanted to call you to let you know that the walks are so icy and be dangerous." And I said, "That's so kind of you to let me know that." But I was already on my way and I already encountered that. And I just, took my time slowly to be able to move through them. So that was all good. He was very friendly. He's Chinese. I asked him where he was from. He's Chinese. Wonderful manners, so polite, always, opens the door for me to go first and kind of bows a bit when he does that. Really, really lovely person. So we went up to the apartment, that fourth floor apartment, and also another little element. When I had phoned him to make the appointment earlier last week, I also decided to ask him some of the more nitty-gritty questions. I said, are there any problems with bed bugs in this building? Any other kinds of pests? Like I wanted to know. And he said that there had been some issues in another building, but he said, this building, there's been no issues that I've heard of, and it really is the best building. So of their three buildings in that complex, it's the best building. So, and no issue, no history of issues with things like bugs. So this was also really great news. So we go up to the unit and he knocks several times on the door and then goes in, and the person who lives there was there. And so I got to meet this woman, and the first thing that she is saying is, she said, this apartment has great feng shui. Do you know what feng shui is? And I'm like, yes, I know what feng shui is. Like, I was brought up in a household where, we talked about feng shui and organized feng shui. So, she was talking about how the vibration of this place was so high. Like, she was like talking my language. And, this was great to know. And she said, this place has brought me and my husband so much prosperity. We've lived here for 1 year and we are now like up leveling our life. This has been a great apartment. And, she had, her Himalayan salt lamp. And she had, like various things around her place that really raised the vibration on a daily basis. So this is a place where the woman has been attending to the energy for the last year. And I asked her, some questions like how much light came in, how much sun is on the balcony, because I'd like to know if I'd be able to grow plants out there in the summertime. And so, because she was there, I was able to ask all of these things. And so, um, she gave permission for me to take photographs. So I took photographs of everything so that I could really be envisioning, the spaces and the closets. There's lots of closet space. And again, 900 square feet. So very, very spacious, very bright, lots of light. And also I found out that the management will be going in and doing all the repair work, making sure it's in great shape. They will paint the whole thing, and they are hiring cleaners to come in and to clean the unit before moving in. So to me, this just is a sign of good management, helping people to feel happy for when they move in. So this was all wonderful to hear. And so then this issue came up that my lease is over on March 31st, and this apartment was available May the 1st. And incidentally, just going to back up one step here because this is such an interesting story. Last Thursday, I had my weekly household meeting with my landlady and her son. My landlady is elderly, and it works better to have her son there just to support the flow of the conversation. And so she let me know. It's so funny because the Friday before, after my initial apartment search, and I'd said about that there was this unit that I was going to see the next week that looked really good, but it wasn't available to May 1st. All week she was giving me the vibe that, you know what, it should be no problem at all for you to stay here another month. And last Thursday, in our household meeting, she absolutely said no, she did not feel comfortable, that it just would not work for her me to stay that month. So that Thursday night, I was thinking, wow, well, where could I go? Because I haven't really established the kinds of friendships in this area with people who have abundant space where I could just say, hey, could I come, stay with you for a month? So then I was thinking, well, maybe I could fly to Toronto for a month and stay with some of my friends there that do have, large houses. So I was kind of, thinking out of the box of what I could do for the month of April. And so I came up with some ideas. And so then on, last Friday, I'm going for this apartment showing. And because the current tenant chose to stay there and be there, a conversation was able to happen where she mentioned that they were actually moving out right at the beginning of March and that the unit was going to be empty. And um, so then it all of a sudden started becoming possible for me to move in earlier. So Timmy, the man, the apartment, um, the the building manager, he was saying that they needed time to do the repairs, the painting, and the cleaning, and that he would talk with his colleague and find out the specifics. So really within a couple of hours, the conversation happened between the current tenant and the building management, and they figured it all out that they could offer him the apartment for April the 1st. So I just want you to see these threads of, between my mother's warning, 1% vacancy rate is going to be so hard for you. And then this mismatch of the move-in date and what the heck was I going to do for the month of April? Um, and so, it's just, I feel that when you create a really strong heart-centered vision and really create your connection with that vision, because the vision is outside of your current reality. When you create that level of alignment with your vision, things shift into place for that vision. So within 2 hours, I got an email saying we can offer you the apartment for April the 1st. So, really, this whole thing has just been incredible. And even, I appreciate my landlady, suddenly having this very strong boundary of, I need you out of here. So that, my energy could be very clearly, I need to find a place for April the 1st. So, the only other things that I'll just add is just that, I had this, it was a lovely thing that happened between myself, Timmy, the building manager, and um, and the woman who's the current occupant. We got into this deep, meaningful, spiritual, exploratory conversation, the three of us, where we were touching in on each of our lives and sort of seeing them in the context of flow and energy and expanding our horizons. It was an amazing conversation. And, like that's the kind of energy that I want to experience in my life and in my home. And it was there. It was not that constraining energy of the leasing agent for the other building of, you have to stay in your apartment. You can only look at nature through your windows. People are afraid here. So we bring in a food truck once a year. Like very different energy. Um, and so I have no doubt that I'm going to continue having a warm relationship with Timmy and also myself and the current occupant of this apartment. We've already arranged that we're going to have a Zoom tea together after she moves and gets settled into her new place. Just have a further conversation. And, this perhaps may turn into, a friendship, a local friendship, which could also be good for both of us. So, this is my amazing tale of my journey, my adventure of finding my ideal home. I feel that it's necessary to say I have not actually formally signed the lease. So, my adventure may have some unexpected turn or curveball. But at this point, the feeling is very settled and grounded. And uh, wow, one more thing is just coming to mind that I want to share. This has just been a really magical experience. So, I do meet with a counselor. I feel like that's a really good support for me processing and feeling supported in life. So, I had a meeting with my counselor the morning before I went to see the apartment that I've applied for. And she led me through this process called mindscaping. And it's a way of connecting with the unconscious mind. And so um, she was leading me through this process. And I was, coming up with like some challenging energies. But I was able to clear those energies. Like there was a black hole in front of me. And through working through some things behind me in the mindscape, The black hole was able to get smaller, and then I was like able to just move the black hole over to the right. And then I was able to wrap the black hole in pink Archangel Chamuel light and send it away. And so then I had this clear space in front of me in my mindscape experience. And what appeared to me was the apartment building of the apartment that I was going to be seeing that afternoon. And it was like a brilliant red, very, like it was really good energy, nice color picture of that apartment building. And in the course of this process that my counselor was leading me in, I saw like this, like a movie projector, the light projecting out of a movie projector. I saw this projection coming out of the back balcony door coming out of the back of that building and projecting like this 5D golden age city up in the sky. And um, it was like, like this sort of like almost space age, like beautiful curves in the buildings. And it was so vibrant and so alive and so inspiring. And what I was understanding from that is that in this new home, I am going to be able to project out this like virtual city where my tribe is going to be able to come and to interact and to study and to learn and to develop their warriorship skills. They're going to be able to develop skills and capacities within themselves and bring them in to their ordinary life wherever they're living. It was a beautiful vision. I so thank my subconscious, my unconscious mind, and also my counselor for choosing to offer that method for our session on Friday. So, um, so it's looking like I will likely be moving into this apartment and being able to do some powerful service work for all of you and for others who will be joining us. And yeah, there's a lot of joy around this whole experience. And I mean, I had moments where I was afraid, and I had to really work with myself to move out of that fear vibration and to connect again with the joy, because our vibration makes such a difference in how we see things and how we make decisions. So I'm very, very happy with how I have walked this adventure, and faced my fears, walked through them, and created something very beautiful. I cannot tell you how much I am looking forward to moving into this apartment. Um, for those that maybe haven't been along for long, um, I came out of a really, really difficult relationship breakdown last July and August. And I was with my twin flame. The sort of deepest love relationship you can have. And unfortunately, my twin flame became so deeply triggered that she could not see me or be able to relate in any reasonable, i.e., non-abusive way with me. And so it was a very, very challenging transition in July and August. And then I moved in to this temporary abode of renting space in this house with this elderly woman and sweet, loving Christian woman who does not care about cleanliness at all. So for me, who really cares about cleanliness, has been very challenging living and sharing an environment like a kitchen with someone who is very comfortable with a lot of greasy, grimy, gross mess. It's been very challenging for both of us. So, um, getting to live by myself in a beautiful, spacious environment. And whoa, another thing I forgot to say is that the woman who lives there said there's deer outside the window all the time. And she showed me on her phone some pictures and a video that she had taken of the deer just that morning. She said that they come right outside the window all the time. So I am really looking forward to moving into this place that seems so auspiciously aligned with my providing good service work. to the world at this time, and for me to be able to enjoy being there. And I'm just really, really, really looking forward to it. So I welcome your blessings for the manifestation, for the completion manifestation of signing the lease, and also my move, which is happening April the 1st. And this is my magnificent, amazing, mind-blowingly beautiful tale of um, the adventure of finding my new home. And if I can do it, you can do it. It's just a matter of following some principles that I have sort of highlighted through the course of this video. And of course, if you are ever wanting my personal help with creating something that's important to you, I do offer personal coaching and group coaching. And that's where I help other people bring their dreams to life. So can always feel to reach out if you'd ever like to have a chat just to explore that. So I will close this video here. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day.